In January 2025, I witnessed something truly extraordinary, the largest gathering of human beings on earth. On a single day, January 29, an astonishing 74 million people came to this place. And over the course of 6 weeks, between January 13 and February 26, the total number of visitors soared to an estimated 650 million people, a number almost unimaginable. Now, where do you think such a massive congregation could take place? If you guessed the world's most populous country, India, you would be right. Let's zoom in, tracing our way to the very heart of this event, the destination, Prayagraj, also known as Allahabad, where millions are drawn to a place of profound spiritual significance, the sacred confluence of two great rivers, the Ganga and the Yamuna. This is the Kumbh Mela, a unique spectacle on our planet. This is a ground level view of the people experiencing this event in an incredibly orderly fashion. When filming this moment, I could sense a collective spirit of purpose, devotion, and accomplishment filling the air. Let me take a few moments to highlight the core beliefs, key historical developments over the past century, and the recurring astronomical events that have continually shaped this sacred gathering. Lord Ram, an avatar of the Supreme, according to a great epic, Raghuvansham, was quoted as saying that the people who take a dip at this confluence attain liberation as deep contentment that frees them from worldly bondage. Legend speaks of an ancient battle between gods and demons. When the demons were defeated, the gods had to safeguard a kumbh, a vessel containing the nectar of immortality. As they carried it away, a drop of this divine nectar is said to have fallen at this very spot, sanctifying it forever. In more recent times, the Kumbh Mela has not only remained a spiritual magnet, but has also become a space where history, politics, and culture intersect. Leaders across generations have recognized its significance not just as a religious gathering, but as a living heartbeat of India's people. Let me briefly walk you through the presence of three such leaders, each from a different era, each engaging with the Kumbh in their own unique way: Mahatma Gandhi, Indira Gandhi, and Narendra Modi. The Deccan Herald states that Mahatma Gandhi visited Kumbh in 1918 to galvanize the masses and to know better the people of his country, which was still governed by the British. And according to The Guardian, during his visit, Gandhi actively engaged with many people and participated in rituals at the Sangam. It was in the 1920s that Mahatma Gandhi included all faith prayers in his meetings.
सबको सन्मति दे भगवान.
Mahatma's legacy is etched into the very fabric of Prayagraj, where the impact of his historic salt march greets visitors the moment they step out of the railway station. On the same day, that I visited the Kumbh Mela in 1977, Prime Minister Indira Gandhi arrived, accompanied by her Chief Minister, and addressed a gathering of revered Sadhu Samaj. I regret not having an audio recording of her speech. Previously, she visited this occasion in 1966. Fast forward 48 years to 2025, and the grand tradition continues, now on even more colossal scale. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath visited multiple times. Amidst the chants reverberating across, the Prime Minister urged the nation to harness the powerful energy of this congregation to propel India towards becoming a developed nation. Now let me shift the focus to myself, an ordinary old man embarking on a journey to witness this great spectacle. On January 8, 2025, I boarded a train, enjoying the picturesque scenery of the fertile Indo-Gangetic plains. To be honest, I was apprehensive. After 6 years of being away and 18 years since my last extended stay, I wondered how I would cope with the physical demands of this pilgrimage, given my numerous health concerns. Fortunately, I had the luxury of opting out of the rigorous pilgrimage itself and simply staying at my home in Prayagraj, which I still owned. Yet, curiosity pulled me towards the event. I was eager to witness the much publicized role of artificial intelligence in managing such an enormous gathering. I had many questions. How would this influx of millions impact the environment, public health, and the daily lives of the locals? How effectively could AI-driven crowd management tools handle the logistic challenges? More than anything, I sought first-hand experience, an opportunity to observe and analyze data-driven decision-making in action. Upon arriving in Prayagraj, I was struck by the sheer scale of arrivals. It was a surreal sight.
आप सतना से आए हैं बाबा, क्या उम्र है आपकी?
82 साल।
और ये कैसे आए आप? कैसे आए आप?
गाड़ी में।
गाड़ी में बैठ के आ गए? अकेले आए कोई आया? और अकेले 82 साल की उम्र में आ गए? अच्छा चलिए। और कहाँ रहते हैं आप? सतना में बच्चों के पास रहते हैं?
हाँ।
अच्छा। एक बच्चा है?
विकलांग।
अरे रे, लेकिन तब भी। हाँ बोलिए।
उसके 5 छोरी है।
अच्छा।
एक छोरा।
अच्छा।
विकलांग है।
अब बच्चे कितने बने उनके? छोरी छोरे? उनके छोरी की उम्र क्या है? बड़े हो गए होंगे?
शादी लायक हैं।
अच्छा बाबा, गंगा मैया कल्याण करेंगी।
People were continuously pouring in, and the city's population was rapidly swelling far beyond its usual 1.5 million. When I first arrived at the site of the Kumbh Mela, the formal event had not even begun, yet place was already alive, swelling with energy and people arriving in waves. It was vast, expansive, and rapidly transforming into a living city of devotion. Like me, there were people with disabilities, smart to have brought their wheelchairs. This young couple wanted me to take their picture, and this older gentleman with walking difficulty allowed me to take his picture. This was a space that transcended boundaries. There were no walls of nationality, religion, caste, or creed. Everyone was moving forward. Despite the looming global fear of terrorism, there were no baggage checks. But that doesn't mean that the security was lax. Thousands of surveillance cameras dotted the landscape, many equipped with facial recognition software, identifying known threats, helping monitor crowd flow, and even assisting with the crowd counting and management. These cameras also played a quieter but powerful role, reuniting people separated from their groups. The lodging facilities also had a very high variability, ranging from something like $1,300 a night to a few dollars a night, or maybe even I heard on a video that it could be just $1.25 a night. Even though not very common, but this arrangement was totally free. So that's how things varied. Lot of free food was easily available. Now in MahaKumbh, there were places to eat, or there were restaurants named even Maha Food Zone, and you can see from their menu prices is hardly $2 with variety. A hot plate of kachori, cool Coke felt like nectar. Can have hot pizza from Pizza Hut, and then look at these Kumbh-like containers. So what's going on here is this, that this is a special chai, and you can see just takes one vessel from there and then again treats the chai in that vessel, and this is a lovely chai. It's called tandoori chai. I did not see them reusing this container, and after it is finished with its flavor, it is served in a cup called kulhad. Kulhad is a cup that is made with clay, and in that kind of a chilly evening, that's the way it tastes the best. Money transaction was accurate, fast, and efficient, as you can see. Now this barista was pretty popular, and a lot of people were filming his technique for the preparation details. So obtaining a coffee from him was an accomplishment. Now there were many kinds of sadhus. This particular kind is called a naga, and this one was very popular. As you can see, there was a line seeking the blessings of this sadhu, because people believe that getting a blessing from this sadhu will bring them miracles and good fortune. Now there is another kind of sadhu. They are called aghoris. They live aloof and they generally don't mess with people, and people stay away from them, but on very rare instances they may turn aggressive. Once I got into unlucky situation, and these guys were trying to extort money from me, but fortunately I was with my friend, when I went to the fairgrounds, and fortunately I was rescued by them. Now this was a very widespread scene. Many girls, like this sweet girl here, were walking on tight ropes, and what bothered me was that there was no safety net below them, and each one of them, when I looked at them, they looked extremely focused, but I don't know whether I was anxious, but they also look scared to me. So I was just wondering that how good it was to take work from such children when they should be in school. there are many other videos that so many people have posted about this event, and the quality of the videos there are stunning. Their narrations are great and very clear. So I am going to include a link to quite a few of those videos so that you can witness for yourself the living, breathing soul of this great gathering and experience through the eyes and narrations of many. Now, January 14 was my first day of going to the to Sangam or the confluence, and this is celebrated to mark the migration of sun from southern hemisphere to the northern hemisphere, or during the celestial path it migrates from Sagittarius and enters into Capricorn. So Capricorn in Sanskrit is called Makar, and the transition is called Sankranti. So the festival is named as Makar Sankranti. We started quite late in the morning and going very leisurely because I didn't have much option anyways. So, but still there was a lot of crowd coming in, and the prescribed time by the scriptures to take or just go to the river was a duration of 8 hours, which was quite a bit. Alright, but there were enormously many people, so let's see how it turns out. So it was progressing pretty well. My friend and his wife, they volunteered to be my bodyguard because a lot of people were passing me, just were trying to, I could fall the way they were passing me, and they were helping me, or they were helping the situation so that that wouldn't happen. There were holy men, young women, and people just taking their selfies. Women singing that I could not understand, so I'll let you take a listen. So it was enormous and orderly, and so well ordered or nice that I don't even know what to say, other than just looking at it and drawing the pleasure that how well the crowd is managing itself. Now we are reaching the entrance of the main fairgrounds, and the things will thin out a little bit, and it was remarkable to see that this young man, in addition to so much load, is helping this elderly woman walk. I don't know why he couldn't get a wheelchair, because they were offered if you wanted them. Maybe like me, she just wanted to walk and not use the chair. Still, there was room to move. People were trying to find their lost ones. And I read later that almost all the lost were found, and there were sufficiently many toilets, and the place was really very clean. There were separate changing rooms for the ladies, and you can see in the background that now we have reached Sangam, and we are just going to try to find our way to get a place and get ready to go and go into the river and take that holy dip. No matter how dense the crowd looks, everybody was able to find their way to the river, and some of them had a lot of fun, and with a good style to show. Now here I made a selfie also, quite a long one that you have to put up with, just to record that I was there at the Sangam Nose on this important day. And actually at the end of the day, when the crowd count was released, the estimated number of people was 35 million. So this grand event with 35 million people unfolded flawlessly. and a lovely band marked our exit. After witnessing the great management of 35 million people, I felt I had seen enough and even contemplated leaving early. Yet something held me back, a lingering feeling that I had not quite experienced the same powerful vibes that had stirred me in 1977. Driven by the hope of reconnecting with that elusive energy, I chose to stay and witness the main Kumbh event on January 29. With each passing hour, the crowd swelled, flowing like a relentless tide, day and night, without pause. Traffic jams became the new normal, and a growing network of barricades slowed the vehicles to near a standstill. Soon it became clear that walking was often faster than driving. So for a non-VIP like myself, there was really only one option: walk and be prepared for detours. So I began training for the long trek ahead, preparing both body and mind and putting together a simple but solid plan for the big day. 100 million people were expected to pass through this area on January 29. So even basic arithmetic wasn't supporting the idea of being at this coveted spot. So we decided to go to Sangam through this Jhunsi area, and because it was welcoming, vast, and there were so many approaches that the area was blessed with, and in addition we managed to get a place to stay. I got all clear from my doctor, and Daya Shankar agreed to accompany me. On the January 28, we joined the cheerful sea of pilgrims marching towards Sangam. It was like joining a moving festival, feet tapping, spirits high, snacks being shared. Even in the middle of all the excitement, people followed directions with the calm discipline of school children on a field trip. Some people were walking in the opposite direction, hoping to get a spot at the Sangam nose. People were obeying the orders from the authorities. I will let you see it for yourself during the next few seconds. No one seemed the least bit worried about how we would all fit in this ever-growing crowd. It was as if faith had taken over all the questions of space and logic. After all, this wasn't just any gathering. It was the rare celestial reunion of the Sun, Jupiter, and Moon, aligned in a sacred rhythm that repeats only once every 144 years. Many believed that precisely at 5:30 a.m. the next morning, the nectar of immortality had once spilled from Kumbh, the container, when the divine embodiment of grace, Mohini, carried it away from the demons during the battle between Devasur, or the gods, and the demons. The energy was magical until I realized that I had made rather an unmagical mistake. I had forgotten my inhalers. Suddenly, breathing became a struggle, and so did staying calm. But I was lucky that it happened near a free clinic where actually I knew some doctors. They treated me with kindness, care, and efficiency, and even offered me a place to stay overnight in case the problem returned. When I woke up, the auspicious hour had already passed. But that did not bother me because I was feeling so relaxed and refreshed as I looked around at the crowd who had seized the opportunity to bathe during the sacred moment, a moment likened to the nectar of immortality. I saw faces radiating sense of fulfillment and serenity. Their contentment seemed to ripple through the atmosphere, and despite loudspeaker blaring all around, I felt an unexpected calm within, perhaps passed on from this crowd who had just fulfilled a cherished spiritual goal. We joined the crowd, and I was moving within it effortlessly. Actually, I had read a book from a Harvard philosopher, I forget his name, that there are as many Hinduisms as there are Hindus. So I was feeling that kind of diversity, at the same time a common purpose all over. People passed courteous greetings to each other. The presence of authority was clearly visible. The area of the event was so immaculately clean that I felt compelled to honor the sanitation workers as the true highest caste. Serving with silent dignity, they upheld the sacredness of the entire pilgrimage. To my surprise, I had completed a walk of over 6 kilometers and now found myself standing at the sacred Sangam. As I dipped in the river, a helicopter passed overhead. People cheered, claiming that the chief minister was watching, though I couldn't tell who it was. As we searched for our way back, I came across a Godan ritual, a woman donating a cow to a Brahmin. The priest spotted me filming and then, with a grin, suggested that at my age I should consider doing the same. Apparently, the cow helps the soul cross the mythical Baitaruni river after death on the way to the other worlds. I politely declined and was relieved that there wasn't a long line for it. If I am ever stuck on one side of Baitaruni, I'll have plenty of company. Immediately after, there was a problem. The mythical Baitaruni might hold me back someday, but for now, it was the Jhunsi side of Ganga doing the job, with all bridges suddenly closed. A grim rumor turned out to be true. A deadly stampede had taken place near the Sangam nose, leaving dozens dead and many more injured early in the morning. For an event with millions, that number may seem small, but in the matters of life, even one is too many. On this misty day, I zoomed in as best as I could to observe the situation at the Sangam nose. From a distance, people were gathered all around, yet there was no visible sign of distress anymore. What struck us the most was the clear diversion of crowds toward the Jhunsi side, which meant more and more people were now moving in our direction. We quickly realized that the best course of action was to exit the fairgrounds. As we made our way out of the grounds, we encountered a troubling sight: scattered belongings, clothes abandoned on the ground. Later, we learned that there had been a major commotion here earlier in the morning. Although I could not confirm reports of a stampede, the chaos on the ground strongly suggested that something tragic had taken place. We continued towards the Jhunsi exit, and the crowd grew denser. Yet to our amazement, it moved with remarkable orderliness. People were visibly tired and uncertain, but not panicked. The weight of the morning's events lingered in the air, a silent, shared shock. At moments, I questioned the wisdom of returning to this event, especially since I had already enjoyed a fulfilling visit 15 days earlier. Yet something gentle and persistent urged me to come again. And as more time passes, the more grateful I feel that I did. Later, I discovered through a BBC coverage, time-stamped video footage, that we had indeed become part of the very crowd that they filmed. A link to their broadcast is included in the video description. The only truly perilous moment for our group occurred in an area that you will soon see. Eventually, we reached a point where leaving the crowd was no longer possible. All we could do was surrender to the flow. We talked among ourselves about staying calm, what to do if someone fell, and above all, the need to keep moving. Through it all, my thoughts kept returning to the spiritual philosophies born of this very soil. How the Supreme One, incarnated as a human in the form of Lord Ram, and even then respected the limitations of being human. How Lord Buddha realized Sarvam Dukham, that all suffering is self-created. At the foundation of my spiritual life lies the verse of Shankaracharya, Jivo Brahmaivan Apara. The individual soul is none other than the Absolute. At first, the crowd seemed like a sea of separate beings, each with their own story, their own purpose. But gradually, my perception began to shift. I no longer saw fragmented individuals. I saw one vast consciousness moving through countless forms. We crossed this bottleneck situation so smoothly. We bore the weight of heavy load and the crushing anxiety of what lay ahead, some among us unable to even understand the language.
नाम बताएं?
मेरा नाम नागराजू है।
कहाँ से आए?
आंध्र प्रदेश।
आंध्र प्रदेश में कहाँ से?
नंद्याल जिला।
हाँ।
कर्नूल नंद्याल जिला।
हाँ।
कोयलकुंटला मंडल।
अच्छा।
हाँ।
हिंदी नहीं बोलते?
हिंदी नहीं, तेलुगु है।
सिर्फ तेलुगु और इंग्लिश भी नहीं बोलते?
इंग्लिश नहीं जी।
I had just shown a brief exchange. A young man with his luggage, far from home, wearing an enlightened smile despite the language barrier. It was a small yet telling glimpse into the quiet resilience that ran through the crowd. Though I have spent nearly half a century teaching, I am now a student of machine learning. Being here gave me an unexpected vantage point. I could see how real-time observations and video analysis could shape future crowd management systems. Perhaps one day, with the help of evolving technologies, we might reach the goal of zero casualties during such gatherings, avoiding the tragic consequences of unforeseen lapses in planning. The BBC's drone footage told the story in sweeping visuals. There was no space between people. From the ground, it looked the same, shoulder to shoulder, head to head. Yet, astonishingly, no one seemed angry. No panic lined in the faces. It wasn't festive either. There was no scope for joy in the traditional sense. While people like me filled the wait with idle talk, most were immersed in silent thought, inching forward in a rhythm that felt ancient, steady, and deeply internalized. Though my sugar level dropped briefly, I saw no one else exhibit sign of medical distress. This crowd, enormous in size and slow in pace, appeared so wise. It may sound strange, but there were no follies, no chaos, no signs of disarray. For the first time in my long life, I witnessed a crowd that felt self-aware, composed, not driven by commands or control, but by its own inner sense of order. At one point, we encountered a heart-rending sight. A woman struggling with crutches was having difficulty moving through the crowd. I instinctively offered help, but the young man beside her, perhaps a son, declined, likely weary because I too was leaning on a cane. One major obstacle in the movement was the presence of cars stuck in the middle of the path. Yet, what stood out was remarkable generosity of the crowd. Not a single person showed frustration or anger towards the riders. Instead, there was a calm understanding that everyone was simply caught in the moment together. Then came a moment of quiet heroism. A young man in a blue jacket emerged from the throng, guiding people with great efficiency. You may see him move around the car and probably reaching the lady in the crutches. This Haldiram shop that you see was also visible in the BBC footage. I had pointed out the two cars here earlier. Once again, we can see the man in blue jacket from the disaster management department. People are making way for him, probably so he can reach the lady on crutches. In spite of having many other cops around us, suddenly, near the end of our movement, a commotion erupted. It was the kind of moment that arrives without warning, like a gust of wind sweeping through a still valley. 1 second, we were a flowing current of people. The next, we were fragmented, disrupted, scattered like leaves in the wind. You can see the chaos. A ripple, no, a wave passed through the crowd. Some shouted, though their words were swallowed by the enormity of the moment. Others froze in place, clutching bags or reaching for any helping hand. There was no clear direction, no visible threat, just energy, sudden, sharp, and unspoken. The rising panic didn't explode, it simmered. It was a silent surge, the kind that moves faster than reason, feeding off the collective uncertainty of thousands. I remember the sound, not a scream, not a roar, but a hum of human tension, the kind of sound that seems to come from beneath the surface, as if the ground itself had begun to speak. And then, just suddenly, the return to calm. Such a surprising thin veil between disorder and order, pressed on all sides, yet strangely free within. I knew I had witnessed something sacred. By God's grace and the wisdom of the crowd, it felt almost magical to see. Despite the exhaustion etched on every face, people were safe and sound. The big bridge to Allahabad had closed. The entire outside area was heavily crowded. Eventually, the train station opened and we were able to board a crowded train that was late in the night. I just put a representative picture. So back to Allahabad, reached the crowded airport again. Everything was crowded. And then made into the full flight and took off. I recovered quickly from exhausting walks, detours, and the challenges of the densest crowd I had ever experienced. But what remains is unforgettable. I was extremely fortunate to have experienced an extraordinary event, not as a religious ritual, but as a deeply human experience. I'm fully aware of the carbon footprint left behind by journeys like mine. And yet, what struck me, how thoughtfully this event was organized, with an undeniable consciousness for the environment. Even travelers like me, whose presence demands the space and resources for at least 3 people, were somehow accommodated with care. The data is yet to be released, but the intention was already visible. The synchronized chanting of the crowd still echoes my mind. Even after January 29, the day of the largest gathering, the congregation continued to grow, eventually reaching a cumulative participation of over 640 million people. Truly unimaginable. The hospitality and convenience offered by the residents of this city across religions and castes has become so well known that many more people may be inspired to visit on an yearly basis. Let us hope that these sacred rivers will continue to hold enough water to support the gatherings of this magnitude again and again. Events like this present a powerful opportunity not just for spiritual reflection, but to inspire each one of us to take personal responsibility for protecting the environment. These final images are from my visit to the Magh Mela, the sacred yearly gathering held at this very place. It was captured 20 years ago. Thank you for staying with me on this journey and for witnessing an experience that continues to resonate even after all these years.
Huh?